Month's over. Patches have come and gone. What's left is an incredulous mess of a combat system, yet at the same time, it isn't so bad after all. Anyways, this is a short video to cover the most recent changes to the warrior class in large scale, upcoming changes in the next week, and a short summary of what to do, some tips if you will. First off, to no one's surprise, is the removal of lingering super armor. There's no way around it. It's gone. However, tons of CCs are also going to be removed, so take a look at the Korean patch notes when you have the time to see, and look at the preemptive patch notes for our patch note next week. InvenGlobal Link is in the description below. I'll provide some tips in large scale later in the video. In the same link, you can see a list of warrior changes. First off, they fixed the issue where you could not use Furious Blow by pressing S and left mouse button. This was a common occurrence in Sword and Shield form, because whenever you used S and left mouse button, you would trigger counter instead. However, this change is pretty good if it actually fixes the initial problem of proccing counter instead of Furious Blow. It's a really good stun move to use now that CCs are relatively gone, really. But since lingering super armor is not on our side anymore, I don't really know how to feel about this skill at the moment. For the next one we have to fix the issue where down smash did not work for ultimate ground smash. This is a fix where it's completely useless because the initial skill is already worthless in of itself, so don't even look at this line of text because ultimate ground smash is something you should have never even gotten in the first place because it has absolutely no use at all. Don't even think about trying to use it right now. Don't even think about using it in the future. Unless they make something work with it, don't waste your skill points. Anyways, the best news about this patch is that Pulverize and Tempest will have forward guard again. This is great news because without forward guard, these two skills are practically near worthless in any situation. Pulverize still had a use because of its instantaneous instant recovery, but for Tempest, that is completely worthless without forward guard, because trying to use it in large scale without any protection just is asking to die. The two biggest changes is the removal of bound on our two main abilities. Gravedigging will not inflict bound in PvP. That is pretty big because that's a really good opener for our CC moves, and as our main damage dealer, Gravedigging is quite vital in any situation, so the simple removal of this bound doesn't affect too much of your damage output, but because it doesn't bound now, you're gonna have to find some way to bound the person first before activating Gravedigger to proc the down attack damage bonus. As for slashing the dead, well, that's just used as a finisher now, because if you try to use it in the middle of a siege situation, you should realize by now that the ending and beginning of the skill doesn't actually have super armor covering it, so just using it is a death wish in of itself. You won't even be trying to CC anyone, you're just there to deal some extra damage, back attack damage if they're trying to run away from you. Now, a slight change is the change to knee kick. While the entire system we have right now relies entirely on just RNG, the fact that knee kick won't float anymore is a big deal to me. It might not be a big deal to most people because people have already locked the skill and haven't even taken a look at it, but floats in our CC meta right now is very strong because the moment that you float a person on the ground is the moment where you can capitalize on a lot of damage, mainly down attack damage bonuses. And the longer you put someone on the ground means that you can effectively keep them longer in the CC chain up to the point where 5 seconds have passed, and have passed the point where you can just stay on the ground, which means you can get CC'd again right after getting up. Now, not all of it is bad because knee kick now will hit 4 times instead of 2, but that's like throwing 2 peanuts at an elephant rather than 1. It's not that much of a damage bonus, and the removal of the float is completely unwarranted, so Make sure to unspec it if you really don't plan on using it, because I don't think it'll be good for anything other than its minor debuff now. Great for canceling still though, don't you worry. One big change is Shield Tide, because now it won't afflict Float again. Float skills are extremely strong in this meta, and the fact that you can't float with this skill anymore is a big deal. The fact that Shield Tide can't float anymore is a big deal to many people because float is a strong CC in this meta. However, you could still use Shield Tide for its super armor and frontal guard, and you will be protected for most of it. So it's mainly a damage dealer now, including a distance closer because it's protected, and we don't really have much of that nowadays. As for Shield Assault, I don't really know anyone that actually uses this in the first place, so the fact that they changed the knockback on the first hit and bound on the second hit for only PvE just means that they haven't had much foresight on what the skill actually does, so it's basically a worthless skill now. It used to have some sort of use because of the knockback, but now that it's only frontal guard, it's no good. Please don't get the skill. Get the skill if you really want to try some things out, but it's no good. Lastly, for the Korean patch note changes, we have Seismic Strikes nerf. Seismic Strike is purely super armor based, and the fact that they removed the bound portion of this skill means that they don't really want people using this skill to CC because it's a protected skill. The protection you gain from this skill is mediocre at best. I don't want to say that's a great skill, but some people just really like using it, like Starqueef. But we'll see. We'll see how Seismic Strike fares. I don't really like Seismic Strike in the first place because of how slow it is, and the fact that it removes Pound is enough to tell me that this skill is just not worth my time anymore. Of course, it's still a good skill to use if you really value the super armor on it, but please don't think that you're going to be helping at all by using this skill. You'd be better just blocking and praying that you survive rather than just activating Seismic Strike and expecting you to actually kill someone with it, because you won't. Or, of course, if you're facing people 100 gear score below you, maybe, just maybe it'll kill someone. Instead of going over what's changed so far, let's go over what to do. Number 1, block longer. Sounds counterintuitive, I know. However, your goal is to block long enough so that you can head chase out of certain situations. Lingering super armor is gone, but blocking itself still gives you super armor. This is a very important fact, that both in Great Sword form and in Sword and Shield form that you still retain your super armor, because it is in this stance that you are able to survive many situations. However, you have to understand that you must block for more than 0.5 seconds and that the animation has to have gone through of you blocking for the super armor to work. You also lose the super armor the moment you start moving in either form, so you should block longer to ensure that you live longer. Number 2 is positioning. You're not a frontliner. You never were. Please understand this fact. Position yourself accordingly around your blob, not inside of it. You will be better off as a distraction for your allies. If you keep at least 3 people busy for at least 10 seconds, that means that the enemy blob has 3 less people for 10 more seconds. Bonus points if you manage to kill all of the people chasing you, because, well, I mean, if you happen to kill 3 people and are able to re-engage with your main blob, that is all the better for your team and allies. The easiest explanation for this is to simply kite around your enemies. People tend to chase blindly until they slowly start to drift off and realize that they're all alone. You're a warrior, you win 1v1s. Force this situation to happen. Number 3 is to move. While I did tell you to block longer, this is not to say that you should just stay in one place at all times. You have to block effectively and move effectively. You can't just block for 0.5 seconds and expect yourself to have lingering super armor. It's gone now. Pace yourself. Be patient. However, once you get moving, you have to get moving. Head chase's stamina cost isn't high, but it isn't low either. Pace yourself. Use Solar Flare to disengage rather than simply a means to engage anyone you see. By combining Head Chase and Solar Flare together, you gain an extreme amount of distance away from your enemies that is completely protected until the end of the animation. The way Solar Flare and Head Chase works is that the entire animation is fully iframed, so you can be rest assured that you can get away safely. But at that point in time, if you meet with a random CC at the end of your Solar Flare, you can be, well, you can be CC'd. Now, to go over some tips. Number 1 would be Spear Cancel. This is the process in which you throw piercing spears repeatedly. It is achieved by throwing the spear and cancelling as soon as possible with either / or shield charge. Effectively, cancelling spear will deal devastating amounts of damage to targets in the distance and helps you and your allies soften the enemy front line or to catch stragglers unawares. It is also a good move to secure kills because throwing spears repeatedly at a person will do a significant amount of their HP. The next is Whirlwind Slash. Seeing how stamina consumption has become a problem, this is a neat mobility combo that can be utilized right after Solar Flare. This costs practically nothing if you're on the run and sets a healthy amount of distance once you disengage. You can immediately cancel this move and then counter again from shield charge to move even further with another Whirlwind Slash. It is very important to use this move because many of our mobility skills simply do not keep up with the pace that we have to move at. Because now we've become a rather immobile class due to losing our super armor, we have to make sure to make use of every resource that we have. As such, please learn how to use this mobility combo effectively. The third tip that I would give to everyone is to V offensively. Did you think that V could only be used as an escape? While its name implies that it should be, it can very well be used offensively. If you've ever watched any of my VODs or fought me in the RBF, you should get an idea of what I do to survive. By V'ing in certain situations and in certain positions, you can guarantee a moment of invincibility that cannot be seen by your enemy. You practically disappear instantly and reappear instantly. Unless your enemies are paying extremely close attention to your movements, they will proceed to waste their moves on you in this mode. Get a feel on how to use it, and make sure you abuse this iframe of yours. The moment you start moving from this iframe is the moment you lose your iframe. So make sure you just walk out instead of using abilities, because the moment you use abilities is the moment that you lose your invincibility in this V form. Lastly is to absorb your 100% rage. Now that obtaining 100% rage takes about 10 to 20 minutes and a multitude of deaths, pumping out that explosion with Solar Flare isn't exactly viable anymore. The Z absorb buff has been standardized to be 25 bonus attack speed and 30 AP for 60 seconds, which also stacks with your E buff. The fact that you can obtain 25% bonus attack speed is practically godlike, improving your overall mobility and performance. However, due to the fact that our 100% is no longer something we can pump out every few seconds, our presence as the frontline has certainly diminished. So make sure you absorb your 100% rage whenever you get it, because it's a very good Z buff absorb move now compared to our previous 30 DP absorb buff. Well, that's really all I have for now to surviving in large scale. The warrior class isn't exactly in the best spot, but it isn't so bad at the moment. If you'd like a more in-depth explanation for any of the tips I've listed, I could work on videos explaining the quirks of each of them in greater detail when I have the free time, or you could ask me in my Discord and the Warrior Discord. I haven't streamed too much because even I've been put off by this month of instability, but I hope you all find the niche that Warriors can still fulfill, even after all these changes. If I ever do stream, please stop by and take a look. I'll always be happy to answer any questions. And I hope this small guide helped, and pray that the following weeks won't be too harsh on us. Take care and see you on the red battlefield.